Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning into this video about Sherman's March to the Sea. Sherman's March to the Sea began on November 15th of 1864 and lasted until December 21st of 1864. The men marched from Atlanta, Georgia, all the way to Savannah, Georgia, burning things and stealing things in their paths. This was not Sherman's initial idea of how the march would go, but the men that burnt things were called bummers. The goal of Sherman's March to the Sea was to scare the Confederates into surrender, which successfully achieved in April of 1865. The men were supposed to be met by 10,000 Confederate soldiers guarding the city of Atlanta, but the men had fled by the time they got there. Please continue watching this video to learn more.
General William T. Sherman began his march to Savannah, Georgia in May of 1864. His troops greatly outnumbered the Confederate Army by 50,000 men. On September 2nd, 1864, Sherman and his men captured Atlanta, Georgia. This was a huge loss for the Confederates as it was a railroad hub and the center of industry for the Confederacy. They had stored food, weapons, ammunition, and much more.
While the defeat of Atlanta shattered the Confederates, the job, however, wasn't finished. The Confederate Army decided to head west and attack the Union supply line in Tennessee and Alabama. Sherman was at a crossroad. He made the decision to split his army into two. Sherman had Major General George Thomas take 60,000 men to meet the Confederates heading west in Nashville. Sherman led out 62,000 men on his march to the sea. His march began on November 15, 1864.
Sherman targeted Georgia because he believed that this is where the Confederates had gained their strength from. Georgia gave the Confederates both moral and mental support as it was filled with factories, farms, and railroads that provided troops with their needs. Sherman believed that the Confederate army would collapse if he was able to defeat them in Georgia.
Sherman led his men to fight a total war. This meant that even the lives of civilians were in danger. Sherman was willing to do anything for a Union victory of the Civil War. Sherman led his troops in two wings that were about 30 miles apart.
On November 22, 3,500 Confederate men started a fight against the Union soldiers. The Confederates ended with 650 casualties. compared to the 62 casualties of the Union soldiers. This skirmish brought fear to the Confederacy, as they wouldn't engage in any more fighting. Many men fled south, while Sherman and his troops followed them in their tracks.
While fleeing, Confederate men destroyed their own land, preventing Union men from taking supplies or materials for their benefit. They chopped trees down, burned buildings and barns filled with food, wrecked bridges, and ultimately destroyed lots of land.
The Union soldier made sure to make their imprints on destroying the Confederate land. They were extremely cruel. Sherman wanted to make Georgia whole. He led his men to destroy anything in their way. His men tore up railroad track and wrapped the track around a tree. These markings became known as Sherman neckties. They really burned farms, and his men stole any goods they could find. They slaughtered sheep, pigs, cows, chicken, and other livestock for food. These ruthless men came to be known as bummers. They wanted to teach the Trojan and Confederate in general that seceding wasn't so sweet.
Sherman's troops surrounded Savannah, Georgia on December 17th. He ordered Confederate Lieutenant General William J. Hardee to surrender. Although Hardee realized the terrible situation he was in, he refused to surrender. He had other plans. The night of December 20 and 21, Hardee and his men quietly crossed the Savannah River into Confederate South Carolina. On December 21, the mayor of Savannah officially surrendered to Sherman. Sherman immediately contacted President Abraham Lincoln saying, "I beg to present you as a Christmas gift to the city of Savannah with 150 guns, plenty of ammunition, also about 25,000 bales of cotton." Winning the March to the Sea in late 1864 set up to officially end the Civil War in the spring of 1865.
Sherman's march to the sea was 285 miles long and took the course of 37 days. Along the journey, Sherman and his men freed 20,000 enslaved African Americans plus 7,500 more in Savannah. His march to the sea put fear in the Confederates and made them feel extremely hopeless. The destruction of Georgia cost the Confederates a hefty price. In total, the Confederates lost $100 million, which is estimated to be more than $1.5 billion in today's money. The ruined land also dropped Southern crop production from 38% to 28% in the American total crop production. It took decades for the South to reestablish and reconstruct their land. To conclude, Sherman's march dismantled the land of the Confederates and crushed their spirits. The March of the Sea helped bring the Union victory in the Civil War.